Ladies and gentlemen, can you all hear me? No. Any better? Yeah. Can we come to order, please? So you can hear me. Thank you. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at the Finance Committee meeting at Hemsworth Town Council held in the Council Chamber, Hemsworth Town Community Hall on the 10th of November at 7 p.m. Just going to the agenda then. So first of all, apologies for absence, Alan.
Councillors Eccles and Pringle.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Councillors should disclose pecuniary or non-pecuniary interests in any items on this agenda. Just before we go into public question time, it's getting quite common, this, isn't it? Just let's make have a few words with you all. In regards to a couple of meetings, you'll all remember that I gave a statement in regards to the council's finances and where we stood at that point. Now, there's been some confusion around that, particularly with some councillors, and we've received some quite concerning emails in regards to like what I said and what I didn't say and what I meant. If councillors are confused, I'm worried that maybe members of the public are confused as well. So we'd just like to update you on what was said in that meeting, just remind everyone what was meant by it. I thought I'd do it before public question time, and if there was any questions or I haven't been clear, you could ask me. That's all right with everyone. So, as far as budgets are concerned, and I'm going to keep it really simple, when you plan a budget, as everyone knows, the budget looks for the year ahead and you try and stick within that budget. As a council, we have what we call reserves. So reserves is money that we can dip into if we need to. And previous reserves have been great. Last few years, they've been fine. At the end of every year, we look at what we've spent and how much percentage we've gone into those reserves. And that's a measure to say, did we budget properly and did we stick to it, or did we spend more than we needed to? Now, personally, I don't have an issue with going into reserves for the right reasons. So if we go into those reserves, we can explain why. I'm okay with that. The reserves as they stand at the moment leaves us with £373,000 in reserves. Now, ideally, that doesn't need to go lower than 300,000. If it goes lower than that, certainly no lower than 250,000. Now, as I've mentioned, that is for things that we really have to do. We have had to go into those reserves already, but the reserves that we've had in the beginning of the year. Now, for 41,000 of that was for the increase that we did on staff wages. So we brought our staff, any non-management staff, in line with other councils. We brought them up by 5 points. Yeah, to bring them in line. So that made they've got a rate of inflation pay rise to give them a good standard of living. So that's something I'm not going to apologise for. I think it was the right thing to do. Yeah. The other thing that we had to do so far was the path around the lakeside. Now, that's something I mentioned in that first meeting that I chaired as something that I believe could have been budgeted for and wasn't, but also could have been done in previous years. Now, this keeps coming back to me, we've spent this, we've spent that, and it's all in, in your budget, which I'll take. I'll take the things that we've had to do. What I won't take is things that have been pushed, and I will be honest with you, if it's things that I think should have been spent previous years, then I will say it. And I think it's going to be brought up tonight. We've got this on our desks at the moment, talking about what's been in and turnover, and that I didn't have the numbers present in the first meeting. To me, the figures still don't matter. If you're spending more than you said you were gonna, you're in a worse position than you started with. And I think that covers everything I wanted to say. I mean, I'll go into it further, but like I say, the things that were being questioned over, I'm finding quite concerning. So the staff wages was one of them. The extra use of electricity and gas for the Fitzwilliam Centre. As everyone knows, Fitzwilliam Centre's thriving at the minute. It's been really underused over the years, and we're using it for Top of the Maxine runs, the food bank ladies are running a great service. We've got the warm bank going on there. We've got the youth club. We've got I can never say the word. Lego club. There's all sorts going on. Again, maybe we didn't budget for as much gas and electricity as we thought we would because we've not used it before. Can't really tell. But I'm happy for that to come out of reserves because it's the right thing to do. And I think that was it. I think the other things that were mentioned that we'd got into reserves for were, there was the lift, which didn't come out of reserves, wasn't it? And then the other thing was there was a staff grievance that's come out of it. I can't stop the staff putting a grievance in and us having to investigate it. Did that make sense? And is everyone comfortable with what I'm saying?
No, I think we asked for a forensic audit, we haven't got one. And as far as finances are going, it should have been a forensic audit to check things. You might be happy, but we're certainly not.
Okay. So
We want to know why people spending money on that council when they shouldn't be. We are having it properly authorised.
So what we've got in place at the moment is an auditor who's an accountant is looking into it.
Yeah, but it's not a forensic audit, and we had a vote here to do a forensic audit.
We
That
have,
audit has cost more than Jimmy
It hasn't.
Kenyon's original.
it hasn't. So the audit that we've got at the minute is coming in at around £5,000. The audit that Mr. Frankel did was,
Six.
The 5 of the buses.
yeah, so it's £6,000. That was for 1 year. So we're auditing 3 years. So we got a quote from Mr. Frankel for doing exactly the same as what he did in 2019. We said, can we, if we had what we had in 2019, whether, I'm not going to get into whether that was a forensic audit or not, because I can't have that conversation anymore. If we got exactly what we got in 2019, it would cost us in the region of 6,000 times 3, because we wanted it for 3 years. So that would be £18,000. We're spending about £5,000. If anything in this audit comes out that suggests there is anything that would needs to be reported to the authorities and therefore require a forensic audit, we will be doing that. But at the moment, as far as a forensic audit is concerned,
So
it goes to the authorities. It goes to the police. The police would then investigate a forensic audit. But so if we investigate that we've got evidence, just explain it, the forensic audit, and I will be slated on Facebook for this tomorrow, so crack on with it. But a forensic audit is where you've got evidence of wrongdoing. We are asking an auditor.
No.
Oh, we can. Am I correct? Right.
No.
So we've gone to Mr. who everyone believes did a forensic audit. He's come back to me and he's told me that what he did back in 2019. Please.
That was our try.
I will do, but everyone's convinced that this audit was done in 2019 was a forensic one. It's not in as much detail as what we're getting. We've seen what this lady's doing. We've seen what she's looking into. If she finds anything that shows wrongdoing, we will request a forensic audit. But we can't do that until we know what we're looking for. A forensic audit can go through all the information, but where's the evidence? And that's what we're looking for now. We're looking for, is there any evidence of whether there's any wrongdoing?
Right, forensic audit doesn't say find evidence, look for evidence. It doesn't have to wait for the evidence to hit him or her in the face. That's the difference.
But they're looking for
Right,
something in particular.
Secondly, the police will not pay for a forensic audit. It will come back to council if it's aggressive.
Can I just explain to you something what I did?
No,
and we understand. You're coming and you're following it round, and we understand that, look. But the thing is, what we're frustrated about is there's people getting away with a lot of things in it, what shouldn't be getting away with. And we want to know why they're getting away with it, not a normal audit or an audit of what you're doing. You might say, oh yeah, we're going to fix stuff up and we'll put it into a forensic audit. That we asked for a forensic audit. Mr. Draper should have found somebody to do a forensic audit. And that's it.
I mean,
We shouldn't have second best. We've had second best with Jimmy Kenyon and everybody else. We don't want it. We want the audit. We want the audit. We asked for a forensic one.
Right, so if everyone's comfortable with what happened in 2019, which came back as 4 pages of, we already know that the report that we're going to get is massively detailed. We've had the discussions already, we've had the conversations,
So why aren't you sharing it with us then?
because we haven't seen it.
Because
We know it's going into detail, it's being reported and it's coming in the meeting on the 10th,
Just this,
1st of December. So that's when we'll be talking about it, because she hasn't finished yet. But what she's doing is in more detail than the original, we'll call it a forensic audit back in 2019. That forensic audit wasn't in as much detail. If you read it, it says it was at a high level. That means
Probably because she didn't have anything to find. Have you ever thought of that? The reason that the Frankel report didn't find much, because it was all in order.
no, it's because it was asked to be looked at specific items. So it was asked to look at the dealings with Church Road, the sports complex. What, the Frankel report? That was Mr. Kenyon. Well, hang on though, are we saying? So are we saying the Frankel report weren't right either, because I read it and it makes, so the Frankel report weren't right.
That's right.
See, I read it and I thought, you know, it makes sense. What we're getting is more information, that's.
Can we just wait until this comes out in December? And then you can see what we have actually done. We can't go into detail at the minute because it's not come out.
But
But
Maxine,
you
there
don't
were-
understand what exactly
there were
is.
issues where we wanted everybody. Computers and everything checking, not just.
That's not a forensic audit.
No, that's not.
Nobody was
That's
asked for.
and
That's forensic audit, wouldn't go through all.
Email
that's
and
a
everything.
that's a
Should have
different one.
been
It's
done
even
for all
it's
finance.
but that would have had to
That's
go
what we
to
have
police.
That would have to go to the police. if
Yeah,
it's going
that
to
would have to go to police.
take
And I
evidence
have
into-
actually sent a lot of stuff to police anyway.
That was fetched up in the meeting, and everything. In fact, I think you mentioned it, that all data should have been.
That weren't part of the forensic audit.
I'm not saying it was part of the audit, that it was something we were asking them.
But all we're asking you is to just be patient with us and wait and see what this lady brings back on in December. I've got, Donna will tell you, I have my misgivings about this. But I have had had the meetings with this lady. I have been in.
No, I trust them. You're doing a splendid job. I'm not in any shape, way, or form getting on it on. And if it comes back and you can prove something, then all well and good. But it isn't what the community asked for.
It's about legal expertise, it's about a threshold that's got to be reached. It doesn't matter whether you and I think it's wonderful. We're not suitably qualified to make that judgment. That's why it should have been a forensic audit. It would be regarded as an expert audit.
Which we could have done, and we did get a quote from Mr. Frankel, who could do exactly what happened in 2019.
Can I just
Mr.
say,
Frank,
can I, Mr. Franco, but then you're saying that you've asked Mr. Franco, but then you're saying in 2019, when Mr. Franco did it, that wasn't a forensic audit, so
No, but people
why are
think
you
it was,
asking him about
because the
a
people
forensic audit and
saying,
he don't do a forensic audit?
I'm not,
Sorry,
People-
I'm not being at you, but I'm just.
people believe that what was done in 2019 was a forensic
Want it or
audit.
want it?
No,
No,
No, right.
on
So why go
Facebook
back?
tomorrow, it'll tell you that I'm told I'm lying, but.
They don't do a forensic audit.
What we asked for originally, we said, and I put this forward, can we have an audit like happened in 2019? It was then explained that that wasn't a forensic audit. If we want the same level of detail as we got, because people seem happy with that, we could do that. What Mr. Frankel couldn't do for the price I've said, £80,000, he wouldn't be coming to the officers. He wouldn't be getting anything in paper. He wouldn't be looking at receipts and things. We would be, anything we got, we'd be emailing to him. Whereas this lady's been into the offices, she's been into the cafe, she's been everywhere. She's got every little bit of information.
So Jean and Mum. What, Jean? I think £18,000 is nothing compared with what we spent in solicitors and barristers.
It's not, but we wouldn't get I don't think getting through that, we wouldn't get as much detail as what we're actually getting.
You're happy to say that what we've got
I'm happy to wait, let's wait and
is
see.
better than what we would have if it's.
Yes.
So,
It's in detail, whereas the original one was kind of.
First of December, so it's funded out, then we can-
Then we send it on, and if anyone's got any evidence that they think is, you know, proof that there is financial misdoings, please share it with us.
Right, can I ask a question?
Yeah, we'll go to public question time now.
Right, obviously. in
Can we
Ju-
come to order, please, because I can't hear Catherine.
In the July accounts, you've got an amount for a disabled gate fitted in the lakeside. I've been to every meeting that you've held. I've never heard that discussed. So first of all, can you tell me what sort of gate it is? Was it replacing a gate?
It was actually a gate itself, so you know the gate on the compound that people were moaning was closed. They've had a device fitted there so people with disabilities can like basically ring a bell and it's answered from behind the.
It's on camera,
Right,
so they just
camera,
press it
right.
down. Then
And it was discussed in the meeting.
The actual, well, it weren't discussed in a public meeting, it must have been in a exclusion, because it wasn't. But in the accounts, it's for £2,666.90. And it actually states to supply a disabled gate and fit. So that's why I'm asking, is it a gate or is it just the
It's a
mechanism?
device on. the gate, I believe. Is that correct?
So it's
So
not an actual gate, it's just a device fitted on the gate.
Camera, comm system type thing.
Right, because obviously it doesn't explain itself very.
Maybe we call disabled access rather than.
Yeah,
it's working.
I was just gonna
That's
say.
what I was going to say, a gate, why are you going through a third party to actually purchase and fit it, rather than going to the actual supplier? But if you're saying it's due to cameras and everything else, it probably needs to be
Well,
better explained in your minutes. 2,690.
Just a quick one, it's actually a question from a member of the public that's watching the live stream. Could we have an explanation as to why we're in November and we've only got July's finances on? We seem to be lagging massively.
Apologies, we've been behind for a while now, but August will be out next month and September not long after it. We'll always be a month behind, obviously, but apologies for that, we are catching up.
Bearing in mind, Alan's been doing all the work on his own. We've now got a deputy clerk, which is going to alleviate some of the things that he's been.
It's all right.
Donna, you mentioned you've transferred funding from the, you've transferred from reserves.
Can we come to order, please, 'Cause I can't hear.
You've transferred funding from the reserves of the council.
We've used reserves, yeah.
Have you transferred funding into the current provision?
Alan,
Yes.
that's how it works, yeah.
And has that been approved at full council?
Yes.
Has that been minuted? And what amounts are we talking about? Because in September, in September, you approved the contract for the path round the lake.
Yeah.
Which will be after May. So has that been, is that out of reserves or is that from the current provisions?
That'll be out of the
And has that been transferred from the?
No, it hasn't been transferred.
So what we do is we move, once we get below a certain amount, is that right, Alan? Then we move it in. So it'll come out with the reserves just when it's needed.
But how is that transparent to the public?
What do you mean, how is that transparent?
Where is it shown in the account?
Where is it shown that it's been approved?
been approved in September.
No, it's not minuted, it's been a transfer.
What do you mean, the
Because
transfer or the, we don't have to minute the transfers of money to cover what we need to spend.
no, when you make a decision to spend money over and above a certain value, you need to also consider, you've got a legal duty to consider where the funding is coming from.
We did, it came from, so we talked about at the time, it went to public consultation. Because it was gonna be more than,
No, that was the actual, that wasn't the funding, that was the work that went to consultation. The funding of it didn't go to consultation because
We
we were
don't-
talking about.
We don't know how much the tender,
No.
what
That's not
it's
exposure, is it?
costing.
yeah, so tenders go to exclusions because obviously you can't share what everyone's, that's how it works. So we agreed that it was £53,000.
And we don't know
We
that,
don't know that.
we don't know that.
Because
that's one of my-
It'll be published
It has to be private at the time,
Yeah,
obviously, but then it is published in due course.
But that's what we're saying,
Not
it's
in the
not being,
minutes.
it's not being, said that you've awarded it, you've awarded.
I'm not sure what's not in the minutes though.
It's in the minutes.
It's the amount.
In the minutes of the 20. You've put that you've agreed
But it doesn't say how much,
to a company,
right?
Doesn't
but
say.
it doesn't say how much that is going to be, it doesn't say.
I think you're both saying different things, so Kathy, I agree completely, it doesn't say how much it is, which we definitely should be doing that, I agree. What you're saying is how it would be funded, well, we knew we had a budget for it, therefore we know that's coming out of reserves.
They want budgeted for it.
But it wasn't
Well, that's
budgeted in this year, so anything that's.
I covered that at the beginning of the meeting though, that
Yeah, I know, but anything that you start reserve should go to full council for approval, but yeah, it's coming out of reserve.
no, it
And it
did.
will get minuted. So that what's the public? No,
Alan did this up too.
and it's transparent.
Publishing that, but what about this about it coming out of reserves? Has to go to full
And if
council?
it's not,
Yeah.
and if it's not, any contract that's been awarded is now ultra vires out of your powers because you haven't actually needed what you thought when funding came from.
Can I ask the question, why a lot of financial decisions seem to be made in exclusion?
So anything with a tender has to be, because it's a contractual agreement, so we can share the tenders, I was probably gonna explain this much better than me, but the tenders can't be shared with the public. Kathy's point is spot on, which once we've made the decision, we should be sharing it, and that's a point taken. But anything being spent, we can't talk about it until we've agreed it.
Quite honest, David, I don't think it's in the closing of press, I think it's in Mr. Baker's office.
So,
To be honest, I get what you're saying, right, but that's the detail, right? But in terms of general principle, why can't things be discussed such as, well, we're gonna need an impact? Right, why can't that be said? Not an exclusion.
Yes, so it did, and then
That
it
did
goes
get
into
discussed, didn't
exclusions.
That did get
It
discussed.
did get discussed.
discussed.
So it'll get discussed, anything to do with money goes into exclusions, and then, but I do take on your point that absolutely, let's publish what that should be.
so did we, sorry, did we have, how many people tendered for the tax?
3.
So again, because obviously I was sitting on the minutes who that contract was given to. And I've looked and he's only actually been in business 2 years. So have you checked that he's got public
We looked at it, we
liability?
looked at the work and everything, and we looked at what the others were offering, and if the work wasn't as good and it weren't to our requirements. So one of them was just like shale type stuff, it was the most cost effective and met our requirements.
When is that due to start?
Got a site meeting with your tenants.
So when is that? Just because you're having a site meeting, that would mean, when is the work going to
I
actually
don't know,
start?
that'll be arranged at the site meeting.
It won't wait till council.
Going back to reserves,
Explain this.
financial regulations that say at 4.9, changes earmarked reserves shall be approved by council as part of the budget control process.
Which we did.
The council doesn't have earmarked, it's got general reserve at the moment.
But you've just earmarked £53,000 of it. That's what that means.
But it's not it's a decision that we make, so we said, we're gonna do this, it's gonna have to come out of reserves, and we agreed that.
That should go to full council to agree.
It did.
It did May, before you actually.
No, in September. So May was, before May was the staff,
April or May.
April, and May, and then the September was when we agreed the path.
Yeah, so when did it go to full?
In September when we agreed, so we said,
Are
are we doing?
finance committee agreed it?
No, it went to full council in exclusions, we talked about, are we going to do this path, is it gonna come out of reserves?
Was that in October then?
Was it in September?
It was in the finance.
Donna, was that agreed in exclusion?
Yes.
That's why you haven't heard anything about it, because it was in exclusion.
It's still diminutive.
But it was in
I
the
believe,
finance.
am I right in saying
So let's-
that? Yeah, it has been minuted in exclusion.
But we've missed out the.
No, that was a finance meeting.
It was the finance.
Put it right, let's take it back.
Yeah, we put it in writing and we'll look into it.
It's not controversy about, yeah, head of security not paying rent. Does she pay away or not?
Can't mention it with the staff members on public meeting.
Oh, for God's sake.
You're not doing next month, you're not fresh.
Does she pay away or not?
No.
We can't talk about staff in a meeting. We're not.
We talk about the post.
It's under GDPR, we can't talk about staff and what they
Can
pay
we
and what
talk
they
about
get.
the post? Does it attract a benefit in kind?
That's that question.
Oh, sorry.
Does the post attract a
Not to
benefit?
defend it.
We can't discuss that if you know.
Yeah, but you can discuss it because you must have advertised that post and you must have put in terms and conditions.
I can't discuss it because I weren't there, I don't know.
Not you,
What I'm gonna say is I'm not gonna break GDPR talking about it. in this meeting.
not you, right, but if they actually recruited somebody, they must have put the job spec, the remuneration. Right, so you can discuss it, you can't mention the person who's got it, if somebody's asking you now.
One person in that role, it can be abundantly clear.
Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, tonight you're discussing two quotes. Discussing two quotes, one for the water pipe, one for here.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that both quotes will be over £5,000. And again, the financial regulations do specify that anything over a certain limit needs 3 quotes. To actually.
Yeah, We haven't got any
support
quotes,
farm
they're
funding.
tenders, so quotes and tenders are different, is that right, Alan?
Tenders over £25,000.
Yeah. So we will we're gonna discuss whether we want to replace these things first. I think I'm okay to say that the bridge has been mentioned a few times. It's one of the things I mentioned, if you remember in that first meeting, that, you know, we keep repairing it and it keeps, but no one's ever suggested replacing it. That's something else being kicked down the road. And as far as
So what's the decision you're making tonight?
whether we want to do it.
On what?
It's in exclusion.
It's in exclusions, but we can talk about what it's about. The other one about the boiler is, you know, we might need to start thinking about replacing the boiler. This building's
10, 11 years old.
11 years old. So it's,
Yeah,
do we want to get a quote? Therefore, when it becomes next year's budget, we can budget for it. We're not saying it needs replacing now. It's, do we want to budget for it in next
it's
year's?
not clear in the.
Is
in
this
the-
It's in exclusion, so it doesn't need to be clear. It needs for us to have that discussion, then we'll bring it back once the decision's been made.
Well, there's been a service plan on boilers and that, obviously.
Service every year. We can't, I'm not going to go into too much detail around the boiler, but we will bring it back once we've done it. Any more questions? All right, if we move on then to,
Yes, you're on about all this money putting in, you know, to pay stuff out to help things. When I were on finance, well, vice chair of finance, with George Keller's and that, and then when I moved on to new council when they left. She's not here tonight, she's not coming. When she declared that she will chair the finance, I said, well, you know, she says, well, you didn't know what you were doing. She says, we don't put any money into a pocket, a saving or anything.
She says that you don't know what you're talking about, so what's she talking about then? This is what, you know, and I do ask her when she listens. And I said, well, where any spare money when you've been on
So,
finance?
yeah, I don't know what that means, but we definitely do have reserves, so we have that money that sits there, and it's like anything at home, you know, you always have that.
Yeah, but
You
she,
try and have that little bit in, put away for it.
she said there was no reserves left.
There was
for her
always
to
reserves,
take over.
yeah, so there was
I know how much there was,
and there were, and yeah, you're right.
there was quite a bit of
I
reserves.
think this, if you read this letter that we've been given, that will come with these.
Yeah, yeah, but no, but she said then that there wasn't. No, I don't know that.
Lots of things are said by lots of people.
Yeah, yeah, but she sat, I mean, it was downstairs anyway, got the room, but she was sat outside of it, and she said there was no money in the reserves, and why should we have reserves? When people in the villages have got everything anyway. And I said, you've got to have reserves just in case of emergencies.
You're right, I think there's probably been a misunderstanding there, but we've definitely got reserves now, and they're not where I want them to be, which is why I made that statement.
I know, I understand where you're coming from, but you weren't.
No.
Doing that, well, she weren't doing a job anyway, like what she thought she was.
It's not an easy role to take on, and
Well, I wouldn't want to take over from somebody like her.
and like I say, it's the, can we come, sorry, it's.
And I told her to her face, so I'm not just doing it behind her back.
No, it's fine,
Come on, move on.
yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of questions asked, I've tried to answer the best I can.
Yeah. I understand where you're
and
coming from.
You know, if there is a decision that I'm not the right person for it, councillors can vote.
Nobody said that, look.
This few days, I'm just saying, a vote of no confidence, and if it goes against me, I'd happily step down, and someone else can be chosen with more experience.
Nobody said that.
No, I'm just saying, you know, it's these lectures we're getting and the stuff from. It's-
Yeah.
We're getting yeah, it's.
We're not calling you on.
I know you're not, no, you're not. But it's not got that choice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's what, you know, putting it bluntly, it's
That
what
will
they've
move on.
passed on, yeah, but it's what they've passed on. And you're having to sort what they've made a mess of. It's as simple as that.
Just stick with it, Donna. That's what people want and you not to go stick with it.
Thank you. Right, moving on then, because we've done a lot of question times. Minutes to receive and approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of September. We've got a mover, seconder.
Yeah.
Yeah, subcommittees. 28th September and 30th October, I've got a mover. Seconder,
What they,
payment of accounts, September and October. That's what we just covered, yeah.
yeah.
Next one is item 7, grant request. Consider a request for a grant support from the British Polio Fellowship, Yorkshire region. So this is a Yorkshire charity, isn't it?
Yes.
We do have money available for grants, however, it isn't a local charity, but it is obviously very worthwhile charity. If I put a motion forward of £100,
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah,
second
that, yeah.
are we all in favour? Christmas donations to local schools, so this is just a standard item, we do this every year, so I think we give £100 to primary schools and £50 to nurseries. It's just to consider whether we want to do that again. I think, again, it's budgeted for, it's always been in the budget, and schools are struggling just as much as everyone else at the moment, so I like to put forward that we do what we normally do.
Well, that's what you're saying now, because I've been, some at schools have been asking what you'd be doing. Because usually they will get in the selection boxes, the small ones.
Well, they buy what they want with it, don't
Yes,
they?
that's what they were saying, but then they said it will get in stocked last year.
Don't remember that.
What,
It didn't get stocked, they said it, what they were
I think they
told.
were a little bit late last year getting the money, weren't there, some of them?
Some of them were,
Some of
yeah.
them got paid in March, I remember.
The checks were issued before Christmas, some of them were.
Oh,
capped
the
out, some of them were capped in.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see a problem with it, I've got a question.
and that's what's that gonna cost in total for all?
It's about £600.
About 600 quid.
yeah, it's not a lot
And
when you look
it's
at it,
in the budget.
yeah.
So, I suggest we do it, I've got a second there.
Yeah.
Yeah, all in favour? Hemsworth Community Centre Christmas, consider the close down of Hemsworth Community Centre, so this is the standard,
Yeah, and something else.
and Sandygate as well, so this is the normal, we'll close down over the Christmas period. I've checked with Alan, and there are no local groups that use it over that Christmas period, so. Do we need to vote on it? Or is it- Yeah, so I think that's fine, all in favour? Yeah. So warm banks, this is the one I've already mentioned, so the warm banks that are running, if you remember, we put this forward, I want to say early September. We decided, we put this forward, and it was agreed unanimously. As I mentioned, we have had some concerns raised by one of the councillors who was worried that we were spending this money on warm banks and the extra heating in Fitzwilliam. I vehemently disagree with that. I think that's the right thing that we should be doing in this current situation. Taking a bit of hammer over it, but I stand by my decision on that one.
I don't think you can do one in Hemsworth and not one.
It was both, so it was the extra use of Fitzwilliam and doing the warm banks up here. Confused by it, to be honest, but maybe I've misunderstood, but I don't think I did.
We're not actually using extra, we're just.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
I know.
We're doing it on the same day as we do food bank.
The buildings are already.
With the food bank.
It's difficult, we need.
So we did.
Can you go through the chair?
So as far as that's concerned, I wanted to put it on the agenda, because first of all, I wanted an update. So Alan already gave me an update this morning on how well Hemsworth went. Sorry, we're in the middle of a meeting, can we come to order, please? And I don't know if Sharon and the ladies want to give an update on how Fitzwilliam's going.
It's doing great. We've
Yeah.
had 2 weeks and first week was quiet, second week went a lot better. We've got some activities on for people to come now. We've had a lot of interest on Facebook with it. Getting more and more people. We're increased to what we're using from fair share, what we get free of charge. We're doing soup in a roll, which we're not possible anything as such. Tea, biscuits, for people throughout there. We're getting people that come first thing in the morning and stay all day until 3 o'clock.
It's brilliant to hear. And
It's brilliant, yeah.
yeah, massive thank you to everyone that's been involved.
I've had a lot of people to me how good has been.
Can we come to order, please?
I just wanted to say that the first one down here was on Monday and we had over 20 people in, and I think it went fantastically. We're arranging some bingo and quizzes and things like that next week, so I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot more in. And also, it's been reported on Facebook today that Wakefield Metropolitan District Council are opening all libraries daily as warm banks, if anybody wants to be down there as well.
But is that gonna work for all the other?
Well, the library's open every day, but I mean, with our warm bank, it's every Monday between 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock.
Yeah, and ours is Friday.
So-
They're gonna
and
do
yours
one
is-
on a Monday and a Friday, is it going for?
No, I'm saying the libraries are open anyway, they're opening them up anyway. I think they're extending their hours so that people can go down to keep warm.
Yeah.
Read a book, have a chat, whatever.
Can I just say?
I don't know, there's not going to the best of my knowledge, there's not going to be any food on or anything like that at the libraries.
Just gonna be,
But it's just opening up the buildings, that's all.
yeah, it's no food on.
Yeah.
It's just open, I think you can get a hot drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drink and-
Everybody nice, you're welcome. And if you want
If I come down on a Friday, it might be a divorce case, I'm sorry. No, I left her in the house on Monday with a coat on and turned the heating off. Sorry.
You're terrible with
Right,
Yeah.
so moving on then, so that day, so just to explain why it was on the agenda, I wanted to cover it off.
This is going back on to Christmas. Are we allowed to open the Fitzwilliam Centre on Christmas Eve? Because that's Friday. And that's when we're going to be giving out Christmas hampers.
Yeah, that's not my job. I can't see why not.
It's William Centre on.
Oh, no, yeah, but it's the Friday.
Yeah. Well, it's not, well, it's not.
On 23rd. So we're giving out.
23rd.
Don't minute that, but we're giving out Christmas hampers.
Is it the 23rd or the 24th?
23rd.
23rd.
So don't
that's fine.
forget
It's not in, it's fine.
It's your day anyway, yeah, you're allowed.
Too late, it's on Zoom.
Online.
I'm just going to exclusion to press. We have got another 2 meetings after this. If we just ask you to either wait outside the door or downstairs or outside, whatever, if you want to come back in.